What can you do with a franchise where even titans like Miller or Kirshner haven't been able to provide a single great sequel? With a record of 36 straight years of failure after failure after failure. Maybe forget about it, like everybody did. Unless you are part of the small Polish studio that told us to hold their vodka while they developed the video game that finally broke Robocop's curse. A curse that started because Robocop 1 is the cinematic equivalent of an onion, a grueling existential drama inside of an ultra-violent sci-fi action movie, inside of an extremely satirical and pungent critique of everything USA 1987, while not being preachy or taking itself too seriously in a way that movies with a message from today can't even fathom, creating the unorthodox blend of Batman, Dredd and Terminator, loaded with cheesy one-liners that we've come to love.
Your move, creep.
A delicate balance nobody managed to replicate. And maybe if they hadn't wrapped that package with a shiny mechanical body and a name straight out from a comic book, the good old titanium cyborg wouldn't have caught the most common STD: children. As it was soon decided that Murphy, a man that was shot into pieces, devoid of all human rights, manipulated into forgetting everything he loved, and turned into a product by ripping the face from his corpse and slapping it on top of his new titanium skull, a Kafkaesque blend of a brain in a jar and Leatherface, is exactly the type of character made for kids.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
Probably after very thoughtful deliberation. Will this sell toys?
Oh yeah, a lot.
Then it's perfect for children. So, besides Robocop 2, a more violent but less everything else sequel that can be summarized with this panel, and a Canadian miniseries that should say, "Forgive me," for existing, everything film related would become a mediocre PG-rated product. From the so bad it's good, nah, it's just bad Robocop 3, to cartoons.
I believe that if crime goes unchecked in old Detroit, Robocop will be discredited.
Diswhatted?
It will make him look bad.
Oh yeah.
Don't play dumb with me.
Series, to even worse cartoons, up to that attempt at rebooting the franchise, where the new Murphy looked like the result of a crazy night between the original Robo and Kit. Pretty, but soulless. Very Hollywood. And this is not me bashing content for younger audiences. I love it as best as the next Man-Child, but mature content toned down to achieve that low PG rating always feels wrong. It is the media equivalent of saying that smoking is bad for kids and making strawberry taste cigarettes as a solution. As shameless as it is lucrative. Not like the Cyborg did much better in comics, even without PG limitations. There, they mostly toned up the violence and satire while forgetting about the rest. The biggest example of this is Frank Miller's Robocop 2, which is way worse than the movie. An absolute mess where the only remarkable thing is turning Louis, a character we can point at when the next corporate shield tells us there were no strong females in past media, into what they will point at when trying to sell that the new era of badly written female main characters is somehow saving womankind. Although, to be fair, they are saving them from buying tickets. And I'm not being dramatic here. Look, Louis had a massive car crash that apparently only broke all the buttons on her shirt for the rest of the series? No what? Oh, a grenade that only targeted her clothing while leaving everybody else's in good shape for whatever reason. Oh, no, she made Robocop horny. And I'm perfectly happy when presented with a good pair of arguments, but this fits the universe of Robocop as well as a diverse elf with a fate doing capoeira fits the Lord of the Rings, and I would feel like a hypocrite if I didn't point at all types of shitty adaptations. But at least we had more luck with games, most of which were released around the movies, so they are a product of their time. Arcade run and guns with brawler or platformer flavor. And I dare say, they were often decent. But I wouldn't count them, as it happened with most licensed games of that time. More than Robocop games, they are generic games with Robocop makeup. You could basically change their sprites to represent any other action franchise, and they'd work the same, although there was one attempt from 2003 at telling a new story, which was developed by Titus, or Titus, best known for making Superman 64. So, following their style, they produced another barely playable way of self-punishment. And the writing wasn't much better. Just look at the first impression they went for, and rejoice as Murphy forgets how to get out of a car.
This is the police. Drop all your weapons.
Teleports, and whatever happens here in less than 10 seconds. And avoid this one like the plague unless you love trashy games to a pathological level.
You have been warned.
After that, we just got a couple trashy mobile games, a Mortal Kombat cameo, and a Fortnite skin. So, if you had told me that we'd not only get a decent Robocop game, but also the best sequel so far, at a time where heroes of the past are more likely to be castrated on screen than anything else, I'd have laughed at your optimism. But hell, live and learn. The lifting of the curse. Which I guess was possible since Eastern Europeans' blood is 70% alcohol, making them immune to most stuff, including those modern sensibilities, so the fellas at Teyon didn't make a modernized Robocop. Nor they tried to correct it or teach us what we should think. This is not a game made for that collective nobody has ever seen, called modern audiences.
Here I am. Now, give me the money.
Instead, Teyon made the best and most respectful continuation for the series they could. And it is bloody refreshing to finally see a sequel for a classic made by people that either love the source material or at least do the utmost to look like they do. Because I'm tired of disjointed pieces of trash developed by people that seem ashamed of the original or even outright hate it.
Fuck.
But I'm not here to lie and tell you that we got a masterpiece. It has some bugs.
The old man's waiting. So,
The lower budget shows. Companion AI is more A than I. The RPG aspects are as deep as a puddle in the desert. And face animations are as natural as what you'd expect from a wax museum during a fire.
Time to see what's hiding in that metal head of yours.
We know what's in Murphy's head. It's what's in yours that worries us.
Push me, and you might just find out. You, follow me.
Nevertheless, all this becomes a side issue when the game as a whole plays good and feels great. Like it was written and directed by someone from the 80s and developed by a team from the early 2000s, which for me are both positives, as it only tries to be two things: a fun experience and a good Robocop sequel, and there it delivers in spades. The best way to play this is to binge the first two movies and jump into the game, as it ignores everything after two. If you do this, you won't be able to ignore the massive emotional resonance that exists between them and the game, where every single detail is a love letter to the dark, nasty and borderline apocalyptic Detroit of the movies and its characters. And Detroit looks dirtier, nastier and more depressing than ever, beautifully so, to the point that I found myself stopping to read posters, check graffiti and the environments, which get a tip of the hat from me. Even the theme is back, slapping from the start screen with this tasteful piano version and sprinkled in its original form, but not often, just when it has the most impact, which is great. Or am I the only one getting tired of the era that says, themes are silly, so instead we'll compose generic sad music, generic action music, generic uplifting music, and so on. Not like I can play it here though, as the guys from Hollywood haven't understood that themes work like an ice cream truck's jingle, attracting consumers to your franchise, so they still keep them behind a copyright hammer, because they are not only greedy but also retarded. And this is not only a nostalgia bait product. The game has its own self-contained story about the apparent breakdown of Murphy's psyche, explored through the help of a therapist in what seems a nod to Miller's comic, although here the therapist is not a dominatrix doing Instagram poses. And all this happens during the worst time possible, with the appearance of a new dark actor, and in the middle of a convulsed election, a breaking point in the story of the condemned city, which is all I'm going to tell you about the plot, whose writing level is in between Robocop 1 and 2, with the same odd blend of being deadly serious, while not taking itself too seriously, which Weller explains better than I ever could.
I don't find it silly at all.
So the main story has a darker tone, while some of the side stuff still holds the cheesy absurdism we've come to expect from the saga.
Officer, I have a problem. My neighbors are hostile toward me. I think it's because they're jealous of my new dog. Why would they get so worked up every time I take him for a walk?
What is his name?
He has a beautiful red coat, so I call him Fire. He likes to hide, so sometimes I have to yell, "Fire! Fire!" to find him. Anyway, can you do something about my neighbors?
Gameplay consists of a few investigation scenes, Arkham style, and some light role-playing, where we can issue some fines or nag at kids for painting graffiti, although this is completely optional. Most of the game is combat. And combat? Well, if you believe that a motorbike chase shouldn't involve riding it, but grabbing one and smashing it into someone's head, you'll be happy here. Robocop is a powerhouse. A slowish, heavy one, every step accompanied by a shake that will make you feel unavoidable as you chase an enemy, grab and throw him through the window. Shooting is cathartic, especially when chunks of the scenery and our enemies fly everywhere. The 029, Robocop's Robocock, will fulfill any hero's compensating needs, which in case of a guy who had everything below his waist removed is kinda fair, and you can upgrade it to suit your style, although the balance between upgrades is, well, just look at it.
Enemy. As you were.
You'll be happy to hear that we can pick any gun enemies use, which is basically most of the arsenal you'll see in 80s and 90s media. And if you get completely tired of guns, well, there's also a punch that sends people to Jesus, and an array of skills to suit your destruction, protecting and serving needs. Even a weird heal that seems to indicate Robocop runs on Windows. As long as you don't let the game trick you into checking every corner for those stupid items that give a bit of extra experience or the odd skill point, which you don't need, you'll be in for a classic action movie in game form that doesn't overstay its welcome. And if this is the last we see of Robocop, at least it will be a loving farewell, and I'm perfectly fine with that. What can I say? We just got a licensed game that turned out to be good in 2023.
Okay, don't smile. Creeping me out.
Feel free to do whatever you want with those buttons down below, or to give me some feedback. I really appreciate it. But do something or
There will be trouble.
thank you for watching.
롯데 햄 프라이드 치킨. 통날개 더 주세요. 뼈 없는 닭튀김